Hello and welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Wisecracks. For those of you that watched our episode last time, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I want to congratulate EG Max for winning our prize that we gave away, this Glengoyne Little Whiskey Flight. We have another one that we will also be giving away in this episode, along with this t-shirt by Primo's Liquors. This is a gray dry fit t-shirt that we have. We have 3 sizes available. So if you are one of our winners, you would just have to tell us the size. So to win our prizes, make sure that number one, you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and you're also following us on Instagram. Then go ahead and leave your comment below, and the first 2 comments are going to win the flight and the t-shirt. All right.
Somebody gonna win a flight and somebody else gonna win a t-shirt?
Yes, the first comment will get a flight. The second comment will get a t-shirt. So make sure that you're the first one if you want the flight.
Nice.
So,
all right, so
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. So I'd like to
I'm
thank our local sponsors again for making sure that we have the opportunity to give you guys this show. Number one is Simu Golf here in Pompano, which provides us with the studio for us to record our show. And then, of course, Primo's Liquors in Davie for providing us with the opportunity to give you guys some giveaways and some really good whiskey, bourbons, and scotches that we're going to be trying in all of our episodes. All right, so I think we decided we're going to start with the White Dog because Chris, our sound engineer, just came back.
That's not Hassan?
No, it's not Hassan.
I had a color change.
Oh, well, it's a bit different. So Chris just got back from the Bourbon Trail and he brought some White Dog, which I'm really excited about because
he hasn't tried it before.
Yeah,
you can only get White Dog when you're in Kentucky. So you have to buy it in Kentucky from one of the distilleries. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but, taste-wise, right? Because this is unbarreled bourbon. But this is one of those treats that since you can only get it in Kentucky when you're there, it's kind of nice to be able to get your hands on a bottle and have some every once in a while, at least in my opinion. If you're listening and you've never had White Dog, it's just the clear bourbon that comes out of the hose pretty much and would get barreled, as we all know or hopefully know. Bourbon gets all its color while it's in the barrel.
So the funny story about that.
By the way, going into this, I had no idea what this was. I found out about this before I went on vacation because you guys had mentioned it on the first.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to mention that as well to our viewers. So when Doug and I were on the Bourbon Trail, and we came across the first mash of White Dog, we asked a couple questions about it, and it kind of creates the history of how bourbon came to be, because this is pretty much just pure corn whiskey. When the soldiers were in Louisiana, and we had soldiers as well in Kentucky, they were making corn whiskey, and they stuck it in barrels. They sent it down the Mississippi River, and they sent it to the soldiers that were in Louisiana. And by the time that it got to Louisiana, because it went on the slow boat.
Intense, by the way.
That looks good. By the time that it got there, it had aged in the barrels, and it had a color like this. Thus how Bourbon Street got its name, because when the barrels got there, it was no longer White Dog, it was bourbon.
So Bourbon Street got its name from this?
From this.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
Because all the bourbon was coming through to the soldiers from Kentucky that started out as
So by the way, a little backstory, I didn't get to actually do the trail because of COVID, unfortunately. So this is kind of like a trail for me right now. You guys are walking me through the trail.
This is going to be good. This is going to be good.
You definitely got to do the trail when it's open. I did it for my birthday, and it was one of my most exciting trips. And honestly, I think I prefer doing the Bourbon Trail trip more than most of the vacations I've ever been on, just because it was so much fun, and I could do it with my closest friends, and we just.
Well, I'm still.
How many distilleries did you guys go to?
We did 9. So here's the thing. Over the last 10 years
alone,
was
sealed so nobody could ever open it.
Over the last 10 years, the number of distilleries has almost tripled in the area.
Crazy up there.
So there used to be, I'd say, about a dozen or so, maybe 20 distilleries that were, especially some of the really big ones. Sure. Maker's Mark, Buffalo Trace. But what ended up happening is, because of a lot of the fanfare that whiskey and bourbon has gotten over the last few decades.
How do you pour this? Do you pour like a shot?
1 ounce, man.
I'll just take it in a glass. I like to drink it slow, like all the other alcohol I like to drink.
No, we're going to start off this morning. Good. Chris and I are going to start this morning with a shot of White Dog, since he's never even had it.
Gonna do that. And how much do you like, sir?
Just for me the same, just in a glass. It's perfect.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I gotta drive home.
Se me fue la mano. My hand messed up there.
It's all right. So
So-
there's plenty to go around. So
Yeah.
for
It's cool.
so as like I was saying, basically.
Whoa. This is strong.
So many distilleries have come up. Now there's like 65 distilleries, a lot of boutique brands, smaller brands. And it's amazing how much the trail has grown. You can't do the trail now in a few days. It takes.
And keep in mind, there are the distilleries that have opted into the bourbon trail. So when you go to Kentucky and you got the bourbon trail map, all of these distilleries have opted into this bourbon trail. There's a ton of other distilleries that
are
aren't
not on
part of the bourbon trail. I think when we were at, what was it, Buffalo Trace?
Yeah.
Was it Buffalo Trace? Buffalo Trace wasn't part of the bourbon trail,
It's
right?
not part of the bourbon trail because they don't have an official tour through the distillery. What they have is an open tasting room, so you can go to their distillery, right? But instead of taking the tour through the distillery, you just go through the tasting rooms. They show you the
Okay.
tastings. You buy your product and then
Yeah, and then you leave. Yeah.
So they're technically not on the tour. Most of the distilleries that are on the tour take you through their whole distillery process.
And you see the whole process
and you see
being
the whole
made
process,
and
how
where they're
the
being
how the mash
stored
gets
and all that
done,
stuff.
how
That's
it
cool.
gets aged, and all of
Probably
that.
some of the distilleries will let you actually have some of the white dog out of the holes
That's
as
cool.
it's going to get barreled, which is kind of
Yeah.
nice.
But you know what's crazy
So
about
if you
that
smell
area?
it, what do you smell? Because I can smell the corn.
Corn.
Yeah,
I can
straight
smell
up.
the
corn.
Straight, it
Yeah,
smells
straight up
really
corn.
good though.
It's good, right?
It smells like good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells good.
All right,
Can
so-
we taste this already? I'm
Yeah,
dying
go
to taste
for it.
this.
Go for it.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah, sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's good stuff. It's really smooth, right? Considering that it's
It's strong, but it's super good. Like
Yeah.
you could taste like the actual corn.
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's not, you could tell that this has not been aged. You could tell that this is.
I like this. I actually like this.
Good. Well,
So-
it's your bottle, so you get to enjoy
That's a
it.
gift for the show. That
That's
way,
so
you
for the
know,
show.
whenever you guys have any guests, you want to give
It's
them
a
a shot.
good way to wake them up, right?
Nice.
Yeah, this is
It starts to warm you up.
This is like pre-show.
yeah.
Nice.
This is a nice warm up.
The Kentucky hug.
Mm.
So one thing I wanted to mention about the White Dog, in the process of barreling this and putting it into its aging process, where they put it in the stills, they move the barrels around to make sure. So the barrels get moved around in the still because the temperature is different, high and low. And as you know, as the wood expands and contracts, it sucks in the mash and pushes
Yeah.
it back out. It extracts the color and the sugar from the wood. However, there's a portion of it that evaporates just because life is life, right?
Yeah.
It evaporates due to science. And I'd say it's maybe 5% is what they told us, right? I think normally 5% of the barrel over the aging period will evaporate. They call that the angel share.
I
Yeah,
tried
obviously.
to.
Give it to the
I tried to
gods.
age some bourbon in my house, and it all
Oh, in the
evaporated.
little mini barrel. It completely
All of it,
evaporated.
everything
completely. He
is
took
gone.
it. He put it in there so long that by the time we went to take it out of the mini barrel,
barely
it had
under-
evaporated.
It was
completely.
barely under six.
How was the barrel though? It was nice and fat.
Well, I told him stick it in the freezer, push the liquid back out.
Freaking
True.
distilling failure. This is why you shouldn't be doing home distilling.
Let,
Home
let, the,
distillery
let the
process.
pros do the work.
Leave it to the pros.
yeah.
But the cool thing about the whole distillery thing over there, like at least when I went, because due to COVID, everything's just been shut down, or they're very
Did
limited.
you get to at least see any of
No,
the
yeah. So
distills?
I have an uncle that lives in Kentucky. He lives in Lexington, and pretty much being over there, I've gone numerous times. I've been to some distilleries, so I have taken like one or two tours here and there, but I never did the actual trail where I would. That's specifically why I went. And this time I went around, which was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I wanted to go on the tour. But when I, made the calls and I was like, oh, look, I'm trying to get more educated on this process because I'm going to be on a show and I want to talk about it. Everybody kind of was like, oh, we can make it happen, but we got to let you know. And obviously with COVID, they don't want anybody else coming, especially from Florida, because we're like the Mecca.
So one of the things that I noticed that we ended up asking some of the different tour guides was, okay, why are all the stills painted black?
Because they look cooler.
He thinks
That
it's
is
'cause
true.
they look cooler.
That
They
is
do
true,
look
though.
pretty cool in back. But they ended up telling us that the reason they paint them black is because there's a fungus that grows on the outside of the wood.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I'm sorry if I hacked this. Baudonia compenesis. Whiskey fungus.
Tremendo fungus.
It's a whiskey fungus.
That's a fungus of a word.
So it's whiskey fungus that grows on the outside. For many, many years, a lot of people in Kentucky find the fungus. It falls everywhere on light posts, bus stop stations, stadium seatings, in their houses, like on the roof of their house. And it's just part of a cleaning process. And no one could figure out what was actually causing the fungus. It wasn't until, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago that they figured out that the evaporation portion of all the alcohol that's evaporating
is creating the fungus.
The sugar is feeding the spores in the air. That's crazy. And it's multiplying the fungus. So because in the last decade, they went from 12 distilleries to about 65 distilleries in a very concentrated area. This fungus is everywhere. And an entire subsection of an industry has been created just to clean this fungus.
That's a good thing. You're making jobs out there.
But I wonder if there's any kind of like circle of life type of thing going on where the fungus also, being part of everything there, back to the whole mixing of the grains, if it's affecting it at all, and then being part of what makes the
part of the cycle, of the flavor profile and the complexity of it. It could be. I mean, they have not said. I mean, there's been
we're just talking hypothetically.
There's been some research into the spores, and the spores aren't harmful to humans if you breathe them in, but they're.
But what I was going to say, because you guys did say it went from like 12 distilleries to like 65, and it's because...
In a decade.
I know, and the reason for that is because similar to breweries here in, like, at least where we live, there's a crap load of breweries popping up left and right about, just beer.
Yeah.
And in Kentucky, they don't, like, they have their breweries, but it's mainly, like, Kentucky's known for bourbon.
Yep.
Like, that's what they're known for. You go there, I want to go on the trail, I want to drink bourbon, and I want to drink the best bourbon. And you go there and you meet the people. They don't even, like, they drink whiskey, like regular whiskey, like scotch. But they don't like what we know.
Yeah.
But they're more into bourbon. Like they're more into straight up bourbon, and that's
so Leo, what is the difference between
a bourbon and a
bourbon
whiskey?
And whiskey?
Well, technically, bourbon is whiskey.
Yes, it
right.
is.
So there's a difference between Scotch and bourbon. So Scotch is whiskey that comes from Scotland. That's why you can't call Irish whiskey Scotch or anything.
Well, there is a difference also, don't forget, between bourbon and other whiskeys, right?
Yeah, between the mash, right? So bourbon is made from corn, which other whiskeys are not.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that it has corn in it and a percentage of rye as well. So the corn and the rye separate it from other whiskeys. And then it has to be made in a specific area of Kentucky with the local water from Kentucky.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, and that is what actually classifies it as a bourbon.
There you go.
So
so the it is popping up. Like a lot more distilleries are popping up due to the fact that the younger culture is embracing the bourbon pretty much and creating more like distilleries instead of breweries, like how they would down here. So that's why it's like just blown up completely. And there's a lot of like smaller distilleries.
Try this one already. So
there's a lot of smaller distilleries that are super cool over there.
I know you're still drinking white mash over there, but I'm not drinking anything, and I need to drink something. I wanted to go ahead and showcase this bottle. This is Russell's Reserve, and this particular bottle is a select batch from Primo's Liquors. So Primo actually meets with the distillery. They select a specific batch that is going to be theirs and theirs only, and you can only buy this batch from Primo's Liquors. So if you're local to the South Florida area and you want to stop by one of their 4 locations, I believe they have Davie, Weston, Southwest Ranches, and Fort Lauderdale. Any of those locations, this is the only place that you can buy this particular batch of this private selection. So
Russell's is actually
in Kentucky.
Yes, but I had to take a couple of notes down because I want to make sure I was right. I haven't had the opportunity to drink Russell's before. Mm-hmm. It's been one of those that I'd been wanting to drink for a while. I just hadn't been able to pick up a bottle myself and hadn't had a chance to try it. We actually got to try this bottle at Primo's.
Fantastic.
Which is why we kind of jumped on it and wanted it for the show. But Russell's is actually by Wild Turkey. And the Russell's name is actually to honor 2 of their distillers, Jimmy and Eddie Russell. If I'm correct, it's a father and son team. I think they bring over 100 years worth of distilling knowledge. Yeah. with them. So it's pretty impressive. And this is the kind of like the homage to Jimmy and Eddie Russell. And one thing about Russell's Reserve is I believe their bottles are all over 10 years aged. So a lot of bourbons you're getting nowadays, you'll notice, are about 8 years. You're going to get a lot of 4 to 8 years. So this being minimum of 10 years, I think this particular bottle is 11 years.
That's 11 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Is pretty nice. And then Primo went that next step, which a lot of our favorite places do, which is they've gone ahead, they've met with Russell's, they got to pick their own barrels, and brought a special case, which is, the barrel that Primo wanted
So this particular
bottled
barrel
for themselves.
This particular barrel, the batch. So this one's actually 9 years. The batch was actually put into the barrel on October 28th of 2011, and it was dumped out of the barrel in September of 2020 of this year. So it's got the dates on it here. 9 years, man. Well, 9 years and change.
It's still good, man.
Oh yeah,
Still good.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, this one is your special thing, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you.
Let's
open
make sure we
that
slide it across the table.
and make a lot of noise.
So all
Well,
our-
our
so
sound
our
engineer is
listeners
sitting right
can,
here, so that way he's not in the headphones crying right now.
Yeah, I can't cry today. Last week was a different story.
Man, we're gonna open up a bottle, right? Nope, it's not gonna happen. But this one, it's kind of weird that this is kind of waxed. It's kind of reminds me of all the bottles at Makers that get waxed.
That's a cool process, by the way. I have been to
I
Makers.
got an opportunity to dip my. So I have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bottle.
And you can make them up.
I have
you
a
can make
bottle
them
of
whatever
White
you want.
Dog from Maker's Mark that I dipped myself, and it was fantastic. It was a pretty cool process.
Yeah, literally dip it. It's like chocolate. It's just like
Yeah.
So
Like candle wax.
one of the cool things about Makers that I really liked when I was there, not trying to take anything away from the Russells we're about to taste, was and ended up becoming a member of their, of their program there. They kind of have like this ambassador program, which is really cool. And then when you're part of the ambassador program, they actually put your name on one of the barrels, and they'll call you back. Yeah,
So
they'll keep you up to date on that barrel.
In 10
That's
years,
cool.
we're going
Yeah,
back.
in
to
10
crack
years, I'm
open
going to
that
get this
barrel.
bottle open. Fucking Leo.
Hopefully by the end of the episode.
Maybe. Who knows? I know Leo wanted to drink it. Leo, why don't you help me out? By the time that this thing's open, I'll
Hold on.
have finished
You
the
know-
White Dog.
Me and microphones here, so this is gonna be a.
Off the table, Leo. We're gonna have.
So Makers does this really amazing thing with the ambassador program where they put your name on a barrel. They'll send you updates on that barrel, let you know how it's aging. They'll send you a whole bunch of really cool stuff throughout the year. I got this really cool ornament from Makers in Christmas, which is also a coaster. Use it however you want. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I got to say, Makers is just one of the distilleries. I think when you go and you do the bourbon trail and you go to the different distilleries, and you gain a different appreciation for everything that they're doing there. The fact that, they're really aging all of these bottles, right? All of these barrels, 8 to 10 years. That was definitely not going to affect any of the sound.
At all.
8 to 10 years or longer. And how they're, some places will switch the barrels from the top to the bottom to the middle to try to get that perfect flavor profile that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
So they give you updates on the actual barrel.
You get all kinds of crazy updates, and it's amazing. I get really excited about it. I look forward to it in my mail. And when I get it, I'm like a kid on Christmas, dude. I am a kid on Christmas.
Your barrel is 5 years old. He just learned how to read.
If I had a child, I'd be celebrating the barrel over him.
Pobrecito, bro.
All right, this is your jam, my friend. So I am going to give you honors.
Okay.
And of course, as you mentioned, host goes last. So
You can help me out. I don't want to. That's 2.
I've been counting several other times. It actually happened once earlier, and we just didn't notice, or at least it wasn't that.
It wasn't that
I
obvious.
always notice when the microphone likes to give me a headache.
Ah.
Well, thank you.
Oh, that smells really good.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Hold on. Gotta wait for Dougie Fresh.
All right. I haven't tried it yet, but huge difference between
Absolutely.
smelling the White Dog and smelling this.
This looks finished. It smells finished.
Yeah, this is definitely a different
The
product.
color is fantastic. So it has this very caramel looking color. It's a little darker than most of the scotches that I like drinking.
So I hadn't noticed this before. Like wines, you always switch the wine around in the glass and like look at the legs on the wine. Recently learning a little bit more about whiskeys and bourbons, that similar to the wines, you can kind of get an idea of the strength of the whiskey and the bourbon by the legs on it too in the glass.
Yeah,
these are definitely not the best glasses for looking at that. There's more appropriate glasses for that, but you can kind of still see it a bit. Let me try it.
It's also not a good nose
The
glass.
color is really nice.
Oh, the color is beautiful. It's like almost a honey caramel color.
And it tastes like it too.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, so definitely I could taste the caramel in it and the honey. That's definitely what stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Looking to see how this bottle ages. As it turns out, last time we spoke and Leo spoke about the tasting the characteristics changing
how they change over
after
time.
he opened up. Yeah, talked about it with a few people, got some comments on our
mentioned some comments
video,
about it.
the little research, and yeah, I just don't get around to my bottles enough to really notice it. But definitely with the peaty whiskeys,
It's more noticeable.
it's definitely very noticeable that there's going to be a profile change over time. And
as well as stuff that
yeah.
is sweeter. So if you have anything that's been put into a different cask, cherry, cognac, something like
it's
that,
definitely gonna be the
and
scotches.
it's aged, another 1 or 2 years in a different cask, you're gonna notice a flavor profile or a complexity change as the bottle airs out.
So this is like to all our friends that might try something and say, didn't like that. I guess wait a few weeks. You might try it. Might have a different opinion in a few weeks or a month or two. So don't go ahead and throw that bottle away, whatever you do.
Or open it up, like a little bit of water, a little bit of ice, if you like it cold. But I mean,
well, Leo hasn't pulled out his special,
places.
whiskey rocks yet.
No, not for this, man. I wanted to taste this.
Yeah, you gotta taste
neat
this
first because you definitely want to appreciate the flavor profile of this in its element.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on for this episode.
Cheers.
Because
I think we're going to need a follow-up episode once Chris actually makes it onto the bourbon trail.
Before I take off though, I did bring a gift for you guys.
What?
It was a little something. I was up there during the Kentucky Derby, and during the Derby they produced these bottles called Blanton's. Pretty neat bottle. It's 375 milliliters. Single barrel bourbon.
Blanton's
Or single. What is it called? Single. I should say there.
you better drink up that Russell's because you're not getting off
That
camera
is-
until you try this.
That is really good stuff. So the story behind that, it's a company called Saceric, which produces these bottles. They started in 1984. They're the original single barrel. It says it here. Original single barrel bourbon, and pretty much they're based out of Frankfurt, which is where Buffalo Trace is. They have a warehouse. So when I was there, I kind of found out about it. My uncle was like, bro, if you like, my uncle's Cuban as hell. So he's there like, oh yeah, bro, you got to try this bottle, bro. You got to try this bottle. So
nice, Leo. Just go ahead and
So the story
break it
behind
open
this
for him.
though is that
We are because he's
each
gonna
one
try
of
this
these
before we go.
bottles, each one of these bottles have a horse on it before you open it up.
Yes.
These horses each have like a letter on them. So if you look right here, there's a letter.
B.
They all
So-
spell Blanton's.
Exactly.
They have a
So-
really cool display case.
So you can buy them, but that's not
Sorry.
that's not kosher. So they
make all
actually
sorts of noise.
You can buy these like in the store, and they'll sell them to you.
Yeah.
But that's not part of the process. You want to buy 8 different bottles. Is it 8? Yeah, Blanton's is 8.
This is
You want to buy 8 different
solid weight.
bottles.
Feel this, man. It's a solid weight on
Yeah,
the
dude.
cork.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Feel that. So there's 8 different horses, and it starts from it walking up to like the starting line, racing, and it winning at the finish line. And then they sell little displays that you can actually display all the horses. Depending on they just pick them randomly and they give them to you. And depending what you like, which letter you get, there's people in Kentucky that trade these things. So
I can
like,
imagine.
yeah, there's like you go on eBay, there's a bunch of these, and there's all different letters. And there's certain letters
So
that
there's a whole
they
market
only,
just for the collectible piece, the
Exactly.
memorabilia item.
and this is just a smaller barrel. I think it's 93 proof. So what it is?
This
yeah, 93 proof.
This one's 93, barrel number 150.
Yeah. So, and it explains everything about the bottle there on the label. There's actually a gold version of this, and that's 103 proof.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then the horse is gold, so it's like a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, I had seen some of the displays that they put together, and again, like you mentioned, this is actually one of those bourbons that you're probably not gonna really, honestly, the cost behind it, I probably wouldn't buy it myself on a regular because of the price, but I wanted to try it for a long time. It'd definitely be like a price wise one of those splurge bottles, right, where opportunities there to pick it up and you end up buying it, but it is a bit pricey. Glad you brought it in because I definitely been wanting to try it for a while.
I actually even rinsed my glass because I want to try that.
Yeah, so that is it's actually $40 if you buy it on location. If you buy it anywhere else, it's $160 to $200 for that little bottle.
What a difference between buying it on site.
You did the same as me, and you put a splash of water in your Russells.
I wanted to taste it.
Yeah.
I wanted to taste the difference. I like that better. I like it with water.
Definitely opens up the flavor.
And I'm more like of a scotch with ice, where as it begins to melt,
it depends.
It actually changes.
As I mentioned before,
thank my grandfather for that.
It depends on
the Johnny
on the scotch. Yeah, Johnny, I definitely put ice in it. Well, I put a big rock.
Yeah,
so it melts slowly.
We don't have any large ice rocks available.
We do not. I have my whiskey stones, but
what are we even doing?
I know.
You served this already?
I haven't drank it yet. I just served a little bit. I rinsed out to make sure it was good. Make sure there's no water in there.
Yeah, so one thing about this that they actually make different is it's not aged very similar to like other barrels normally, because barrels are the age process of a bourbon is usually on wooden racks.
Yeah,
with the wooden barrel. These are actually aged in wooden barrels, but on metal racks.
Interesting.
Because it actually increases. It actually makes the aging process faster.
Because the metal heats up during the summer.
Exactly.
And it gets colder during the winter.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's definitely been a lot of creative ways to try to age bourbon and try to change the flavor, or at least bring out new flavor profiles. I know
even some of the distilleries have played around with the same mash that they put it into different barrels, and they won't rotate the barrels in the stills. So leave some barrels up at higher altitude and some at lower, and it creates two completely different flavor complexities,
and that's
even
the difference.
Off the same mash.
You're gonna get that difference, right? That's where single barrel is really gonna be a difference, right?
Versus
because
blends,
it's blends.
Blends is the way that you get the same flavor over and over.
Yeah,
the consistent flavor makers. They have a consistent flavor profile that they're looking for when they put out their bourbon, same as most of the other distilleries, but all of them have their own way about going and getting that consistent flavor profile. Now, you're not going to get that consistent flavor profile from one single barrel to the other.
Exactly.
So it just really just depends on what they're putting out there. And they're trying to put out the best bourbon possible.
Yeah, so supposedly like on these, like the letters is differentiate to where they're held on that rack.
On the rack.
And then so each exact letter has a different taste profile.
Yeah, because
the
atmosphere changes, right? Heat rises, so you're going to get a lot more heat.
And they did say that this bottle, not a single bottle is the same from the other.
So yeah,
which is similar to what you explained the first episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now the location, did they tell you where the letters sit on the rack, like the beginning of the name?
I didn't get that far.
Or lower rack.
I didn't get that far. I just know that they're held.
This is the first one. This is a B.
Yeah.
Right. So this has to be either the very highest or very lowest barrel.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if anybody knows yet, but I am.
If you do know, if any of our viewers and listeners actually know what the order of the barrels is in the location, please post that in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you like content like this, so that you guys can continue listening to our little whiskey adventures.
You guys tried it yet?
Not yet.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Oh, that's nice.
That's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Oh my God.
It's a little smoother and it has a lot less bite.
Yeah, it does. I actually like this a lot.
And it's not, if you look at the color, it's not as caramel as the Russells. It's a little bit more honey colored. And if we put them side by side for our viewers, you can see the difference. Oh, let's turn it. Yeah, you're right. Turn it this way. You can see that the Russells has a little bit more reddish brown to it, where
that's just more
the
brown.
Blanton's is just a little bit more kind of orangey.
Yeah. That's the one thing I don't really like about bourbons is the extra bite. Like
It depends on if you get stuff that has a lot of rye.
Yeah.
So I tend not to go for stuff with a lot of rye. He likes rye type bourbons.
It's different. I mean, everybody has a different.
It's it also depends on how you're drinking it.
Yeah.
If you pour it in the glass and you shoot some back, you're definitely going to get that bite real quick. It's definitely going to hit you. You're going to get that Kentucky bear hug, as they call it,
which is that nice little heat that you get right in your throat.
But
White Dog gave me that.
Yeah, but depending how you drink it, it's not going to be the same. I actually don't get that bite going down, but I also I'm sipping. I'm not drinking.
Hey, you're enjoying it.
I'm not putting them back like when I was like 20 or something. So yeah, I'm sipping a little bit more. Goes down a little bit smoother.
Really
I get more flavor. I smell my alcohol now. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Well, it's things that as you start experiencing different tastings, you go to events, you go to distilleries, and you get tours, your appreciation increases, and you start looking at different things that you didn't before. The color,
Yeah, well, I mean, I've learned so much today. Just
the bottling
drinking
process.
with you guys.
And then you start to really appreciate the actual process from selecting the perfect mash ratio to the point that it actually comes out of the barrel. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. And here's a little spot from our local sponsor, SimU Golf. Welcome back, guys. I want to thank Chris for taking the opportunity to actually step away from being.
So, Chris, thanks for bringing us the Blantons. Oh, wait, no, that's not Chris.
That's not Chris, man.
No, sorry.
Hassan, thank you for coming back on the show.
Yep.
And Chris, thank you for taking the opportunity to step out from behind the scene and part of the production team to actually sit with us, taste some of the stuff with us. Tell us about your experience in the Bourbon Trail or in Kentucky, since you didn't get to do the Bourbon Trail, and for bringing this beautiful bottle that we all got to try for our
I didn't try
listeners.
it.
Oh, you'll be
FYI.
trying everything. So we need to catch you up to speed, right? This is where do you want to start? How about that? You tell us, where do you want to start? You want to go in the same process that we did with Chris?
Do you want to go down our mini bourbon trail?
Mini Bourbon Trail.
Why not?
So this is the White Dog mash. So this is exactly what goes into the barrel pre-aging.
I'll try this now. 62.5% alcohol. For those wondering the alcohol content of this.
I mean, here, do a shot of that, man.
All right, fine.
You can start your car with this stuff, man. Maybe we should do a moonshine episode with the moonshine we got from
I have
when we went to the
so
Smoky
much
Mountains.
moonshine left over from Tennessee.
Oh, we did a trip to the Appalachian Trail, and we picked up a ton of moonshine. We should do a moonshine episode.
Wow.
What'd you think?
Did you even smell
Did you
that?
even smell it?
Yes, I did.
Did you smell the corn?
Yes, I did. Ooh.
If you only had some water.
Okay, so as strong as it was,
Right.
Isn't it really smooth for as strong as it hits?
Yes, but it wakes you up. I didn't expect that punch, but I love it. Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, since we're here, I might as well have another shot.
Enjoy. I'll keep drinking this Blantons at $200 a bottle. So
I feel bad. I don't want to make Hassan drink my shot.
nobody
by
likes to
himself.
drink alone.
So thank you for coming back on the
Well,
show,
let me-
sir.
Let me get another one.
Oh, well then.
I have to, why not?
Yeah, and this is really cool. Again, like this is
Thank
actually pretty much moonshine. and it's definitely one of those things. Again,
It's Kentucky moonshine.
I'm not gonna be buying this when I go to buy a bourbon at my local Primos, but definitely when I'm in Kentucky, I want to come back with a bottle of
It's so good.
of the White Dog, because it's just one of those things you can only get it there, and I can appreciate that and the rarity of it. And
So
I'm not gonna
I know
travel
some
to
of our
Kentucky
viewers
every
and
day.
listeners may be wondering, like, what's the point of buying White Dog or buying the spirit directly out of the still before it even gets into the barrel and aged?
No point.
It isn't just about drinking or the flavor profile. It's an experience to taste this. But the good thing about White Dog is any recipe that you have that calls for vodka, you can replace with the White Dog, right? So you can do that with any single vodka recipe you have, including vodka Red Bull or your regular drunken watermelon. You can put some White Dog in there, and your drunken watermelon is going to be fantastic. So that's what White Dog is for, in my opinion.
I would still just drink it by itself.
It's good to drink by itself, but I would rather drink
Yeah, I would too.
aged bourbon.
Yeah. All right. Well, talking about drinking aged bourbon, Hassan,
Well-
would you like to try some of the Russells?
Oh, sure. Why not?
So speaking of Russells, man.
Let's go.
Well,
And we
Russell-
conveniently have the bottle open now.
Yeah.
It took us a while.
Save some time.
So what do you think about Russell and the whole change with Williams, man?
What I know, I don't want to taste
I think,
it first before I talk.
think we're talking about a different Russells now.
Yeah, it's a different Russell. Thank you. So I'm a little sad now that we're drinking here. I'm a little sad that the last family-owned F1 team in the paddock is gone. I feel like it's the end of an era. F1 used to always, when it started 70 years ago, it was all privateer teams and underdogs and all that kind of stuff. And it became a multi-billion-dollar sport, and teams became factory teams, became, company teams, and there was very, very few family-owned teams on the circuit. Williams being the last one. And not only were they family-owned, they didn't outsource any part, any component, any engineering, any aerodynamics. Everything was done in-house. That era is gone, man. That era is gone.
Well, also in his Senna's era as well when he died in Williams' car. So I'm going to bring that up. People don't want to hear that, but I brought it up.
No, I understand that, but many drivers have passed, unfortunately, and not all in Williams. If you look at the stats, technically Ferrari, more drivers have passed away under the Ferrari flag than all of the F1 teams put together.
Yeah, but I think
They've also been in the sport the
to
longest.
Hassan's point, I think it also has to do with all of the warning signs around that time period regarding the possibilities of a fatality, right? And how it just kind of all like came together with the death of probably one of the most exciting and beloved drivers of F1.
I mean, I have a lot of drivers that I really love to follow. There is no driver like Senna to me. I think Senna to me, in my age group, in my generation, I got the opportunity when I was in my teens to actually watch him drive, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's what got me into the sport, seeing a driver like that dominate. But you have to think of also all the blessings that came from him as a driver, because all of our safety regulations that we have now, the hands device, all of these advancements in safety, the barrier walls, the sand traps, all of these came from, unfortunately, the blood of drivers that.
Well, he was a big advocate as well for safety
Oh, huge advocate.
during his times, but he also died. A lot of improvements happened because of it. But for me, I don't care if Williams is in the paddock or not at this point. Me personally, they're a good team. I'm not discrediting them in any shape or form. But for me, oh well, they're gone. I mean, they're still going to be there, but as far as the team, the family owning the team, they got bought out, basically.
40 years. 40 years, though. For 40 years, they've been a family-owned team, watching the sport every Sunday, watching their family run, and now they're going to watch it on the couch like you and I as spectators.
Rich like a
Oh,
move.
very, very rich.
I think they were probably already rich.
Oh, yeah, but they're going to be richer now.
After what they just purchased, unbelievable.
Oh, sorry, Whiskey Stones.
Are you going to use your stones? Remove your water, too, man.
Go, you can take the water. I don't need water.
I really
What's that?
think of the evolution of F1, all the political stuff that's happening now, with that, do you really think that all of that would not have happened or would have happened if it wasn't for the influence that Senna had?
No, it wouldn't have, because he had a good relationship with, as Professor said, Watkins, and maybe quoting the name wrong. They were very close together. He was the head of the safety for F1, so they did a lot of improvements.
Yeah, he was the head doctor for the circuit.
There you go. Yeah. And so they both want to retire at the same time, and Senna wanted to keep going the race before he died in the Imola. But what I want to go, and speaking of Senna, before we get off that topic, I want to give you something. This
is like a Christmas episode. I keep getting gifts today.
It's just something. I'm a Senna collector, so this is like a token of our friendship for 20 plus years. Well, 20 years at this point.
Definitely going up.
It's a little dirty, but it's a license poster of him. So I kept for my collection. It's now yours, so enjoy it.
It's now in my collection. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Cheers to you. Actually, we need to pour some of this stuff in here for you.
Yeah, let me
to cheers properly.
So Hassan's gonna have a little bit more of the Blantons. I'm actually gonna re-pour the Russells.
Yeah, I got Blantons in mine right now because I had the Russells already. Here you go, sir. Thank you for the poster.
No. Thank you for the opportunity to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I got a little sneak peek of that poster, and I was like really, really jealous.
Well, I know that you have a very nice poster that you have signed of Nicky Hayden.
Yeah. Interesting story there. Andy Luke, good friend of us, of both Leo's and mine. I mean, good friend in that he gives us really beautiful, amazing signed posters.
Friend of mine as well.
By some of our favorite racers.
Give you a story about that.
Yeah, and he's quite, actually, Andy Luke, he's one of the top guys at Formula Drift. For those of you that follow us through the Formula Drift scene, you guys will all know who Andy Luke is. The thing about him is he is actually quite the collector of memorabilia. And he's actually going to be in one of our future podcasts discussing collecting memorabilia and Hollywood memorabilia. Being out on the West Coast and being close to Hollywood, he has an unbelievable collection of memorabilia that I would love to share with all of you.
He does. I talk to him all the time through Facebook about autographs. And I have a story about, let's speak about the Nicky Hayden. I want to hear that.
So I know Andy through Leo, but mainly through his wife. And I'm visiting them. I'm in LA visiting with them, going out to dinner. I'm in their house. I go into the bathroom. I'm using the bathroom, and I can see through the mirror in the bathroom, and behind me, poster Nicky 69, Nicky Hayden. That was his number 69, and I've been following Nicky Hayden since he was racing here in the U.S. and Superbike and some of the other series here in the US.
Going to MotoGP.
Yeah, before he went to MotoGP. I'd been following him since he had started racing, and I was like amazed by his talent. I don't think there was anybody who watched motorcycle racing back then when Nicky Hayden was in Superbike and some of the other series that couldn't see the talent.
The Kentucky Kid, by the way.
Kentucky Kid. Talking about
so,
yes, the Kentucky Kid.
I had one for you, Nicky.
Yeah, one for you, my man. God rest your soul.
Yeah. So I'm looking and I see this poster behind me, and I come out of the bathroom super excited, and I talk to Andy, and I'm like, you got a poster? You got a Nicky Hayden, like a little kid, and he's like, yeah, I got that when they came for the first MotoGP race here in the U.S. and
Texas, right?
Yeah, and they were doing a signing, and I was there because of Formula Drift and everything, how the setup and needing people here. And he got it signed. And he goes, we kept on talking. And at dinner he goes, hey, tell you what, you pay for dinner tonight, you take the poster home with you. And I was like the most excited kid. I was like Leo right now with the Senna poster.
Yeah.
So excited.
Andy's a cool guy, man. Andy, I can't wait to have him on the podcast. So, you guys are going to see his collection of memorabilia. He's got some cool stories with his time at Formula Drift that is going to make all of us laugh. So
I have a quick story about him as well. This is before I even knew who he was. I was a couple years ago. I used to go to Formula Drift before as a fan. Was in Palm Beach, Homestead. Yes, Formula Drift used to be down here in Homestead and Palm Beach. Now it's in Orlando. But I used to have the Speed Hunter books. And so I used to carry the volume 1 around. It was like a good 1,500-page book around to different events to get signed by different drivers. He was in the book with Andy Yen, one of the former judge, if I'm not mistaken. They're in the book at one of the FD testing tunes. So I went to him and signed. I didn't know him at the time, but obviously he's a big autograph guy. So I went to him an autograph. He signed it. He's like, hey, do you want other people's autograph? I'm like, sure, why not? So he brought me to the inside of FD staff area and got all the FD staff, Ryan Lantane, all of them to sign the book. And so from that point, now I shot Formula Drift as a media. So he now knows me because of that, because of the autographs through the Speed Hunters books and give me the access. So he knows me as a funny, because I always go to him, can I have your autograph? So I did it on a few occasions.
So I honestly have to thank him as well, because as media for State of Stance, he's given us an unbelievable opportunity to shoot stuff in Formula D that a lot of the other media outlets don't get an opportunity to shoot. Right. So it's been unbelievable. He's taken us up into the judging booth. He's taken us, behind the scenes on a lot of the process of setting up the track for Formula Drift and what happens pre and post the event. So I'm really happy to be able to have the opportunity to have him with us in one of our future shows, because I think that's going to be an amazing podcast.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and he's also a hilarious guy.
And I mean, my Nicky Hayden story isn't as awesome as yours, but I had the opportunity when I was in Italy. I went to the Ducati factory, and I got the opportunity to actually touch the Ducati that he rode for Factory Ducati. So that was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, Nicky Hayden got to race for Factory Ducati with Valentino Rossi, if I'm right, and I kind of think they built an amazing relationship.
How about the Valentino Rossi change? He just left Factory Yamaha. He's going to Petronas. 7 years. He's been 7 years with Factory Yamaha.
The change is needed.
Extremely excited. Valentino Rossi again.
The doctor.
When Nicky Hayden went to MotoGP, I was kind of a little bit torn, because in MotoGP, the guy I followed was Valentino Rossi.
He was a guy, yeah.
Yeah, and then who doesn't follow Valentino Rossi?
Of course.
If you don't follow Valentino Rossi in MotoGP,
he's the most veteran rider in the pack, still competitive. I mean, I do understand that Marc Marquez has been unbelievably unstoppable in the last few seasons, back-to-back championships and everything. He had an unfortunate crash at the first race of the 2020 season, which had him out for a little bit with some arm surgery. And while he was out, the Yamaha teams, including the Petronas team, were unstoppable. And Valentino Rossi showed us how competitive he still is. So 10, 15 years older than the pack.
I think in my mind, and probably the mind of a lot of other people, we're wondering, right, where was it Factory Yamaha that was holding him back a bit from becoming, taking that reign again and really accelerating to the podium?
I'll tell you what I think it is.
I think there's opportunity.
No, I think it was okay. So
opportunity. I agree.
I love Ducati. You guys know I'm a Ducati owner. I have the bike at home. I love Ducati. It's one of my favorite brands. However, when he left Yamaha and went to Ducati, I think that was a very misstep in his career. The bike was not set up for him.
It wasn't set up, yeah.
He crashed almost every race. He couldn't and I think that those years that he signed under that contract, it cost him a lot of opportunity. Those were some prime times where he could have continued his reign. When he came back to Yamaha, you saw how quickly he started going up. Oh, 4th place finish, 5th place finish, 3rd place finish, few podiums here, podium there.
But it's kind of like Valentino Rossi going to Ducati, being Italian. I feel it's one of those.
I was excited at first.
It had to happen.
I was excited, right? I was like, oh my God, he's Italian. He's in his own country. A match is
a different question.
But they couldn't get the bike dialed in for him.
And for the record, what we'll go and do for the people that don't know about Valentino Rossi, we'll include a video. There's a great documentary on Amazon Prime. We'll include it in the comments.
That'll be in the links below.
Please include it, because I actually have not seen that video.
What? You have not?
Yeah,
dude, it's phenomenal.
Right?
It goes in transition from him to Ducati.
And it actually, so it shows how much he struggled in Ducati.
Have you seen the documentary on Senna that was recently put out?
Oh my god!
I mean, the old one?
No, there's a recent one put out.
The recent one.
All right,
Wait,
maybe we'll include a link to that
Wait,
too.
which one on Netflix you talking about, or which one you?
No. I mean, it's on Amazon Prime too.
It's on Amazon Prime.
It's this
so
old
Netflix had an older one.
No, it's a new one.
Amazon Prime came out with the newer one.
I didn't know about that. I'll check when I get home. I
Yeah,
didn't know
so
about that.
we'll include links to those as well.
If we're accurate.
I don't think
put
they are.
in the notes that we're not.
Or if any of you viewers and listeners out there know the documentary that we're talking about, please go ahead and include that in the comments below.
Leave a comment because I'm a
Yeah,
Senna
the more
diehard
comments you
fan.
leave,
I'm gonna
the
go
more
one
you
step
like the
further.
video,
If you
it
know
helps the
of,
algorithm.
if you know of any cool documentaries about either Valentino Rossi,
Nicky Hayden,
Senna,
No, any documentaries,
cool
period.
documentaries, put it in the comments so we can watch them.
yeah.
Well,
And
send us
then-
on social
And
media.
also
And then
because,
we'll link 'em
as I
up.
mentioned, it does help the algorithm for YouTube. So it gives us an opportunity to spread this content to as many viewers as possible.
I just want stuff to watch.
I do. Well, I watched some of it, but yeah. Well, I have an autograph Senna piece as well. I didn't mention that, but I gotta bring that up because.
Well,
it's a
so
piece
I
to
want you to hold. I know you have a lot of a pretty well-rounded memorabilia collection
Of everything,
and I
not
would
just-
love for you
yeah.
to showcase some of that stuff when we're talking with Andy. Because he has a lot of memorabilia, not just in motorsports, because he's very involved in motorsports, but also in the Hollywood and movie culture.
Yeah, he does.
Some phenomenal collections. I would love for you to bring some of the stuff that you have.
I've been
so
talking
that we
about my
can
top.
discuss
I have
that.
Top Gun pieces at home. I've been talking to him about.
Yeah?
Yeah, I got the autograph, like a poster to the whole staff.
Yeah, and speaking of Speed Hunters, so the original founder of Speed Hunters, Antonio Alvendia, is actually going to fly down to South Florida and be on the podcast with us to discuss some. Yes. I didn't want to drop that to you guys before. I wanted to see your reaction as I dropped it here live. But he's actually coming down and he's actually going to be on the podcast.
It's gonna be cool.
And it's going to be a fantastic episode. We're going to talk about everything Japanese. So we're going to be trying Japanese whiskeys, talking about the Japanese culture, the Japanese automotive industry, how that affected the motorsports industry here in the U.S., as well as things like fashion and golf that come from Japan and the differences between what is marked as JDM. Because though Jonathan Wong, the old editor of Super Street in the late 90s, he coined the term JDM, which was very interesting because now that term has been used in various industries. So you look at the whiskey industry, right? And in the liquor industry, the term JDM discusses all of the Japanese domestic
whiskey.
whiskeys.
Yep.
Right? And in the golf industry, you have companies like Miura, who used to be samurai sword families that are now using the technology from thousands of years, or I wouldn't say technology, but the process, the forming that they've used in their family for thousands of years to make samurai swords to now make golf clubs, right? So there's something in the Japanese culture that has to do with whatever it is that you're passionate about. They really believe in you become the best of it.
You guys see that they got that giant Gundam walking and moving and doing all kinds of stuff.
everything.
Oh, yes.
So they don't care what it is that you're interested
They're
in.
gonna make a Gundam
Be the best of it.
flying fucking through space.
I hope
If you
so.
love Gundam, they got a 50-foot Gundam, and it's not the only one. They have two or three, right? Across.
I think
They have a couple of
of
giant
Yeah,
Gundams, and
they
they
have
have
a
one
couple
right
of-
now.
But the
that
moving one is only one.
there's only one right now
That moves, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Yokohama Bay, somewhere around there. I think. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so
crazy.
please, once again, I know I mentioned it before, but please go ahead and
Get some of
click
that,
on that
Russell.
subscribe and
Yeah.
go ahead and click on the bell on the
just let you
notification
open it up for
icon
yourself.
so that you guys can be up to date when we do the episode with Andy Luke as well as the episode with Antonio Alvendia.
You want some more too?
No, I'm ready to close out with a little bit that I have. I don't want to drink too much.
I'm gonna close out.
I'm gonna
with the first
I'm gonna
ones.
actually make sure I comment on our episode so I can win the Glengoyne. I mean, I'm allowed, right?
You want the flight, don't you?
I want the flight. I want the flight.
All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate
guys.
every single one of our followers, listeners, and subscribers.
all the feedback too. We
Yeah,
appreciate
if it isn't for you guys, there's no point in us even being here doing this. So thank you again. We appreciate every single one of you. We look forward to giving away the flight. We look forward to giving away the T-shirt. It's going to come with a bunch of State of Stand swag as well. EG Max, congratulations on winning the last prize. And I look forward to congratulating our next winner.
Yep.
Thank you again, everyone.
Cheers.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Indeed.